Hey friends, today's video is a little unique and probably different than what you're used to seeing or hearing on YouTube. For those of you who hike, especially long distance hiking, you know that there are three kind of major things that are included in the hike. One of those being a physical challenge, one of those being a mental challenge, and then lastly, a third is a spiritual challenge. It's like I said earlier in an earlier video, I really want to prepare for all three of those before I leave. And so today's video is about preparing spiritually. The act of preparing spiritually is really an ancient tradition that goes back millennia, thousands of years. And they can be called a lot of different things. Some people call them spiritual practices. Somebody call them disciplines. Some of them might be activities. But whatever vocabulary that you may use for them, there are some spiritual practices or activities that I'm going to engage in for several days in order to prepare myself spiritually. And really, I'm taking the example of Jesus Christ, who, before he did anything publicly, ministry-wise or with folks, he's had this period of time that there were some spiritual disciplines and activities happening that when he came out and that was over, he was ready to do the work. He was ready to engage with people. And so I'm going to follow Jesus's example. I'm going to invite you on this journey because I don't think that there's a whole lot of videos out there on YouTube that help people prepare spiritually for those who want to. You can find the story of Jesus and his preparation in Luke chapter 4, in Matthew chapter 4, in Mark chapter 1. All three of those Gospels record some aspect or a version of the story. And so those included a few things. It included fasting, which is abstaining from food for a period of time. It included solitude in the wilderness. It included prayer, spending time with God. Let's talk about fasting for a minute. It's exactly what it sounds like. You just abstain from eating food for a certain period of time. And we fast for a lot of different reasons. We fast for medical reasons, right? If you're going for a checkup or physical or blood work and you need to have accurate results, you fast for a season so that whatever's in your blood can work out and you can get an accurate result. We also fast for personal reasons in the sense of our physicality. Maybe we want to fast to let the toxins and stuff flush out of our system because maybe we ate terrible, and so we're going to stop eating for a little bit, help our body reset. There's lots of benefits to fasting. You can look those up on Google and see what people do. But for me, fasting and why it's a spiritual thing is the reminder that we are body, we are soul or spirit, and we are intellect. And those three things are connected. And you can't really remove one of those and still have the whole person. So we're not just a spirit person. We're not just a body. We're not just our intellect. We're all of these things together. And so when we fast and abstain from food in the physical side, it does affect our thinking. It does affect our spirit as well. Think about it. The last time that you were hungry, could you think straight? The last time, you feel all kinds of things and you can't focus on stuff, and just proof that all of these components are connected in some way. And so for spiritual preparedness, what fasting does physically, it does the same or similar things spiritually in that it just cleanses us. It removes the clutter from my life. It helps me remember that I'm dependent, that I can't really just do as I wish, that I'm controlled by other forces. And you say, what do you mean controlled by other forces? Well, I'm controlled by the need for food. That all it takes is a minute for me to get hungry and start to feel the blood sugar drop. And next thing you know, I'm mistreating people. So these things are connected. And so spiritually, it really opens up, declutters, reminds me of my dependency, especially on God for spiritual things, and then helps me attune to hearing from him. Now, let me specify this, that none of these spiritual practices are designed to get God's attention or to gain approval from him and twist his arm to do something I want him to do. No, all the spiritual disciplines, fasting, solitude, you can read about those and look those up. They are designed for us, for me, to clear the waves, so to speak, to declutter, to help focus, and to open up my soul, my spirit, so that God may speak to me whatever he wants to. That's my reasons for fasting, starting today. Going to go a couple of days, and I invite you to come along on the journey. And as we go, I'll share more things with you. So today's the first day I've begun to intentionally prepare spiritually for the upcoming hike. And as I've already shared, I'm been fasting first thing this morning, but I'm also today going to go on a hike. I'm going to hike around 6 miles out into the wilderness with an overlook and just do some meditation and some reading and thinking and those kinds of things. I'm doing it today because I still have glucose in my system. I still have some, residual nutrients in my intestines. And so I'm not afraid of going for a hike and having the energy and the strength to complete it. So I invite you to come along on the hike, and I'll see you on the trail. Like a deer highway. It's a bit of a climb. Most of the way up already. But it's gonna be beautiful. I climbed up here for a reason, just to get away, mountaintop experience kind of things. And I'm going to do a few ancient Christian practices to help me clear the clutter of my own mind and hopefully hear from God. One of those is called Visio Divina, and it's simply this. It's sitting here and reflecting and looking out at the sights, the snow, potential animals, the view, and just waiting for something to grab me. And then taking time to just gaze at it and ask the Lord to speak to me as he would. Ancient Christians did this practice because many of them were illiterate and couldn't read. And so they trusted that God would speak to them as they paused for a moment and reflected on what they were looking at. So I'm going to take some time to do that now. As I said my midday prayer, I was reminded that it's God's will that I want done, not only in my life, but in the life of others, in the life of this world. Because God's ways are pure, God's ways are perfect, God's ways are holy. And if his will prevails, then everything would be all right. So I'm reminded that my role is just to hear God and do what he says and be patient. So gotta continue learning to be patient and let God lead. That's what I'm hearing from him right now. Well, I have about 2 hours of daylight left, and it's starting to snow just a little. It's supposed to get heavier as day goes on, so I think I'm going to head back down. It's been a wonderful time up here, just sitting and reflecting and letting God speak to me. And so journey will continue. I have about 3 miles to the road, and we'll continue to reflect and think and allow God to speak. So today's day 2 of my spiritual preparation and day 2 of my fast. I feel great. For those who are curious, I recommend that you drink liquids and not just abstain from everything. I'm drinking coffee, tea, and a broth at night. One of the things I'm doing in addition to fasting is praying throughout the day. I'm praying a morning, a midday, and an evening prayer. And I could pray and try to think through my own prayers, but I've decided to use something called daily prayer. And there's lots of resources out there. You could Google them. I'm choosing to use the Celtic Day of Prayer. And each day it just has a prayer that I pray and think on and reflect on, and it helps me connect with God. The key to all of this, though, is what's the condition of your heart and your mind as you're spiritually preparing. It really needs to be one that's just open to God and whatever God wants to say, speak, or do in your life and internally in you. If you come with a set of agendas or expectations, oftentimes you're just left disappointed. So today is just a day I've spent. It's colder outside. I've spent just thinking, praying, doing a little reading, reflecting by the fire. It's been a good day. Hey, so it's day 3 of my fasting and my preparing spiritually for the hike. I'm out taking a little walk with the dog this morning, and I wanted to share with you a really cool story to help you illustrate how God speaks to me. As you saw earlier in the video, I was up on the overlook practicing some Visio Divina, and I felt this impression on my thought process that God was speaking to me that, hey, his ways of doing things are perfect. It's usually, man who messes things up. And so what I needed to do was just listen to what he was saying and then just act on that. And so that was cool. Kind of tucked that away and finished my day. And then yesterday, this gentleman who's a friend of the trail, he does some trail maintenance, takes care of an occasional thru hiker, gave me a shout and said, hey, can I stop by for a visit? And yeah, come on by. So he came by and we were chatting. He was telling me a bunch of stories of his experiences and whatnot. But then in the middle of sharing these stories, he just stops and he looks me dead in the eye and he says, the best thing I've ever done with my life is to listen to God and then do what he tells me to say, and then do what he tells me to. Man, that's in essence exactly what God had impressed on my heart the previous day. And so he left, and for me, that's an example of how God speaks to me. First, I have this impression in my thoughts, tuck it away, and then it usually comes up throughout the day in a conversation or some other way, and I know that that's God getting my attention. So today I'm just kind of spending the time to walk and reflect on that, and what does that message mean for me and my upcoming hike. So anyway, that's a cool story that happened to me during this time, and yeah, there we go. So as you just watched in the video, I spent 3 days fasting, spending some time with the Lord in solitude, on a hike, doing some ancient spiritual practices or disciplines, and just spending that time to hear from God and preparing myself spiritually. It was a great time. I feel wonderful. I broke the fast by eating some chicken chili. I'll show a picture here that my wife made. It was amazing. I tell you, hunger is the best spice. But hey, if these videos helped you in preparing, if you got questions, leave them in the comments below. If you'd like to see more, I'd be happy to make those videos for you. I feel like the spiritual piece of things is something that we neglect so much and so often. Not too many people are talking about it. So hopefully this was good for you. I'm excited to see you out on the trail in just a few short weeks. Take care.